They must stand facing the mirror for 10 hours every night. Even if they are extremely tired, they dare not close their eyes to rest, and their faces must always remain calm. Don't dare to have the slightest panic, because a group of mysterious alien creatures will gather in front of the mirror to imitate their movements. As long as someone tries to resist, these monsters will tear them to pieces. There was once someone who tried to escape from this weird forest during the day, but no matter which direction he ran, he would end up back where he started. At night, the monsters would all appear, tracking the escapee by scent and killing him in cold blood. But Belle won't take it anymore. She's had enough of living in fear. But when she tries to take action, she's stopped by the experienced Jenny. Because she's lived here for 20 years, she knows all about the ferocity of those monsters. As long as they are enraged, everyone will face the fate of being killed. But Belle just pretended to say yes. When they were out looking for food during the day, Belle would mark the trees, and when they returned to the cabin at night, she would pose in front of the mirror to please the monster. After countless days and nights of groping and observing, Belle finally knew the surrounding terrain, so she flushed out of the hut with a bird.
Where are you going?
Home.
You want me, kid?
I can't stay here.
But she didn't expect it. Jenny didn't stop her as usual. This filled her mind with doubt. She ran quickly along the markings left in advance, hoping to escape the forest before darkness fell. Belle kept running, until a clearing loomed ahead. But when she thought she was finally getting out of the forest, reality made her despair. The mountains in front of her stopped her in her tracks. That's when Belle realized, even if she ran her legs off, it was impossible to escape from this place in a day. Despair spread in her heart. At that moment, Jenny suddenly appeared behind her.
You're not the first to have tried getting out. We've all tried, and failed, at one time or another.
Belle had to follow Jenny back. After this failure, she accepted the fact that she was trapped, and obeyed the rules. When they went out looking for food, Belle teamed up with young Tyre. Tyre kept complaining that Jenny only scares people, and she always gave them orders. Belle listens and comes up with a plan. She also said bad things about Jenny to Tyre. After successfully getting close to Tyre, Belle came up with a bold hypothesis. They never really saw the monsters. Maybe it was just a lie that Jenny made up. Tyre's eyes flashed with realization. Driven by curiosity, they crept to the place where the monsters were hiding. Looking at the deep and mysterious cave, Belle didn't feel the slightest fear but rather excitement.
Don't you want to know what they are?
The two decided to take the risk to investigate. Tyre was in charge of pulling the rope at the entrance of the cave. Belle went down to the bottom of the cave to check it out. She moved down carefully. There were no accidents during this time. When she reached the bottom of the cave, she was surprised to find that there were no monsters here at all. But there were many tools that humans use every day. Belle picked out some things that might be useful, and carried them up with a rope. Although she had already collected some items, but Belle was still not satisfied and wanted to continue exploring. But just then, an eerie sound suddenly rang out from inside the cave. Belle panicked and called out to Tyre. At that moment, a palm slowly poked out of the darkness, but it was burned just as it touched the outside sunlight. At the critical moment, Tyre hurriedly threw down the rope. Belle was then able to get out. When they brought them back to the cabin, Jenny interrogated them.
What did you see?
Honestly.
Their ignorant behavior would lead to big trouble, but those things were also useful. Tyre used a broken camera connected to a monitor, making a simple camera, hoping to see the monster for what it really was. However, what was strange was this. The screen remained blank until late at night, just when everyone thought that the monster would not appear tonight. A dull knock suddenly came from outside the door. A human leg also appeared on the monitor. Before anyone could react, Amy just stood up violently, as if drawn towards the door by some kind of magic. At that moment, a man's voice came from outside the door.
Please, open the door.
He's back. John's back!
Jenny immediately blocked the door, desperately trying to dissuade Amy from believing it, because there was no way that anyone alive could have appeared here. This is obviously a trick of the monster, but Amy acted as if she hadn't heard. Her husband went out alone a week ago to look for help, and hasn't come back since. Now her husband had finally returned. Should he wait outside to die? Just as she was about to open the door, Jenny suddenly had an idea. Have Amy ask questions that both she and her husband are familiar with. In order to dispel the crowd's doubts, Amy could only agree, so she asked about an agreement between the two. But time passed minute by minute, but no response came from outside the door.
Something wrong with him.
Kira, the Watchers do not spare human life.
You don't know that.
There wisdom, Kira.
With their joint efforts, Amy finally snapped out of her daze, but it also completely enraged the monster outside the door. They scrambled back to the mirror, but this time the mirror seemed to have lost its effect. The monster did not stop attacking. They went even more crazy and slammed up against the mirror. A violent vibration came from the room, making everyone's heart tremble. They thought they were dead this time. Just as the mirror was about to be smashed, the monster suddenly stopped. Apparently this time it was just a warning, but Jenny was furious. She questioned Belle about where those things she brought back during the day came from. Belle stops hiding and tells Jenny the truth about what happened. Jenny was shocked to hear that. The next day she hurriedly threw all those things back, hoping that doing so would calm the monster's anger. But after this incident, she became wary of Belle and Tyre. So every time they went out looking for food, she would purposely separate the two, so that they wouldn't do anything horrible again. This made Tyre resentful. The fights between him and Jenny grew. Finally one day, Belle and Amy heard a mournful scream. They immediately searched for it. They found Tyre tying up Jenny.
What are you doing? The boy has lost his mind. Untie me, Daniel.
Our rules now.
Tyre finishes his speech and flees in a hurry. Belle rushed forward to untie Jenny. The two don't dare delay and immediately run towards the cabin, but the door was already locked by Tyre. No matter how much they begged Tyre, he would not respond. The sky was getting dark. Just as the monster was about to appear, Jenny hurriedly dragged Belle towards the forest. They hid under a pile of dead wood. This was the hiding place Jenny had prepared beforehand. The rotting dead wood was able to mask their scent. In the room, Tyre pulls Amy and stands in front of the glass. They waited silently for the monster to arrive, completely oblivious to the safety of the two men outside the door. Belle's heart was pounding with fear to the core. It wasn't long before the monster did appear over their heads. Luckily, the monster didn't notice the two under the deadwood. They held their breath, not daring to make a sound. But what made them unexpected was, when all the monsters gathered in front of the mirror, Tyre suddenly cried out,
They're not here! They're not in here with us!
The monsters outside immediately scattered and searched. Jenny seized the opportunity to pull Belle quickly back to the front of the cabin, but Tyre still refused to open the door. It's a matter of life and death. Belle hastily reveals that she has marked the forest and has found an escape route, guaranteed to lead everyone out safely. Tyre listened and opened the door. They had just entered. Jenny walked up to Tyre with anger, intending to teach the young man a lesson. Just then Belle suddenly heard a commotion outside. They hurriedly stood side by side in front of the mirror, in order to be able to get everyone to follow directions. Jenny finally revealed the secret she had been hiding for years. It turned out that she was a scientist. She came to this place voluntarily. The purpose was to delve into the study of extraterrestrial life. But now it's too late to say anything, because the monsters are coming in. They panicked and blocked the table in the doorway, but accidentally discover a secret on the floor.
There's something underneath.
Has anyone seen this before?
No. What do we do?
The sound of the collision grew stronger and stronger. In the nick of time, Tyre found a metal bucket and slammed it frantically against the floor. Luckily, the iron door was thin. It soon twisted and warped under the pounding. Belle saw this and rushed forward to help. As the floor cracked, a hidden hole was revealed. Tyre quickly flipped the switch. A tunnel entrance was exposed to them. They panicked and entered the tunnel. At the same time, the table used to fend off the monsters was about to break. Just as Jenny is about to enter the tunnel, the glass was shattered by the monster. At the last minute, Jenny closed the entrance to the tunnel in time. They were able to survive, but before they could breathe a sigh of relief, they were shocked by the sight in the cellar. Not only was there a whole shelf of food laid out here, there were also all sorts of practical tools. Clearly someone had lived here for a long time. That's when Belle spotted an old computer. She tried to move the mouse. She didn't think the computer would even start. To their disappointment, this computer wasn't able to network. They found hundreds of small videos in the computer, then opened the video with anticipation. It was found to be an old man's vlog inside, but as the video played, the fear in their hearts grew stronger. That old man was actually a professor. He came here specifically to study alien creatures. His research was quite normal at first. It was just a simple observation to understand the habits of these creatures, but the professor soon realized. Every night these monsters came outside the house to imitate human behavior, seemingly wanting to blend into human life. In order to conduct more in-depth research, the professor was no longer satisfied with observation inside the house. He used fraudulent means to trick people from nearby towns to use as bait, sacrificing these lives to the monster. And he succeeded in capturing a monster and imprisoned it in the cellar. When the crowd saw what the professor had done, they were all shocked beyond words. They didn't expect the professor beast to be so crazy. Everyone didn't dare to continue watching. They all got up and prepared to flee the place, but Belle clicked on the last video out of curiosity. This video actually had a way to escape from this forest. It turned out that the professor had made a plan long ago. He put a small boat on the riverbed at boundary 134. As long as you travel in the direction of the bird's flight, you'll be able to leave this forest without any problems. Belle was thrilled to learn this news, because she happened to have a parrot in her hand. Thinking of the imminent escape from this horrible place, everyone was so excited that they could hardly sleep. Tyre and Amy even danced with excitement. The next day they couldn't wait to open the door. The whole house had been destroyed by the monster, but they had no time to care about that. Immediately embarked on a journey to escape. Belle had already marked the trail. They followed the markers all the way to the east. Soon they found the border point 134. Belle then released the parrot. They followed it and continued on their way. But there was an unforeseen unforeseen circumstance. The sunny sky suddenly became cloudy. Then it started to rain. What's worse, this kind of sunless weather is exactly when the monsters come out. They didn't dare to have the slightest delay. They ran forward with all their might. The monsters ran out of their nests one after another. They approached them at an alarming speed. They managed to reach the lake at the critical moment. They didn't dare to stop for a moment, immediately following the river all the way to find the location of the boat. Although the journey was full of thrills, but in the end, they managed to find the boat left by the professor. But just at this time, Amy suddenly realized that Tyre had disappeared. They were just about to turn around to look for Tyre. Tyre appeared behind, dragging a man with him. Amy's eyes widened, because Tyre was dragging none other than her husband. She knew her husband had turned into a monster, but due to the distance, Tyre couldn't hear Amy's cries at all. He eventually fell victim to the monster. They quickly came back to their senses, hurriedly boarded the small boat and rowed towards the center of the lake. But they had just rowed out not too far. They encountered a large number of alien monsters chasing after them. They thought they would die for sure this time, but unexpectedly found that these monsters cannot swim, can only watch them gradually far away, let out a burst of unwilling roar. Eventually they managed to get out of here, but Belle came to the professor's office out of curiosity. She accidentally discovered the truth of the matter, so she immediately found Amy and took out a few photos. It turns out that Jenny is the professor's wife. Amy was very puzzled by this. She didn't understand why Jenny was hiding her identity, but Belle's next words shocked her even more.
The woman in the photos, she died in 2001 from lung cancer.
Belle speculates that Jenny might be the alien monster, although the evidence is right in front of her, but Amy still finds it hard to accept because everything seems so illogical. The monster is clearly afraid of sunlight, but Jenny is just like a normal person. Combined with the professor's crazy behavior in the video, Belle thought of an even more unbelievable possibility.
She's one of them.